Happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. Mark Moyer doing some great things with networking events. Another one tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So check it out on LinkedIn, Win Again Academy in the club room, Mark Moyer. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Jonny Halprin into the Wolff Den. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to. I always love, I love all these conversations because you never know what you're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about music and concerts and events, and I'm a event and music junkie, so it's going to be a great topic for me. But for the people in the audience who don't know who you are, give a quick introduction, and then we can get into everything.
Sure. My name's Jonny. I'm the founder and CEO of Fanimal, and Fanimal's trying to take over the live events industry. We're a ticket marketplace, has 90% of the same inventory as StubHub Vivid SeatGeek, don't charge any fees, and we have our patented group purchase. So, because nobody goes to live events alone, so why buy tickets alone?
I'm not the right demographic. I go to concerts alone all the time.
Well, I'm sorry. I know some people do, and for that, that's perfectly fine. But a lot of people go with friends and family, and there's always a question of who's paying. Who's paying for what? Do I have to buy everybody's tickets and then chase people down? It's very painful. And so with Fanimal, you can set a certain size, invite friends to your group, and only when everybody opts in does everybody get their tickets and receive them individually, get charged at the same time. If the group is informed, nobody gets charged. And we're in both primary and secondary ticketing. People seem to like it so far.
So I'll tell you a quick funny story about going alone. A long time ago, I had a girlfriend and she loved Melissa Etheridge. So I bought tickets for us to go see Melissa Etheridge. We broke up. I'm like 19 years old, 18, 17. I don't even know how old I am. I was like, do you want the tickets? Like, you can have them, go. And she didn't want them. So I was like, well, I have these 2 tickets in Madison Square Garden. I'm like, I'm going to go. And I tried to find someone to sell. I'm living in New Jersey, so I took a train into Madison Square Garden trying to sell one ticket. I don't even remember if I did. I probably did. And then I'm sitting as a single guy at Melissa Etheridge by myself. She's awesome, by the way.
Yep.
And just saw her at Sunfest here, and it's a great show. But anyway, I go to concerts alone. I go to movies alone. I go to eat alone. I go where I want to go and do the things I want to do. Love to have someone with me. It's great, but I think you should do what makes you happy and don't let something like that stop you. Anyway, that's a little side story. I want to, this Fanimal, as I understand it, started mostly with the group idea, correct? That's the reason behind it.
Yeah, it's our main shtick. I started because I'm a huge live events goer myself, music, sports, comedy, you name it, and was just thinking, I was using StubHub all the time, and I was thinking there's got to be a better way. First of all, just the fees. I was like, these guys are taking 20 to 40% of the transaction, and they're not the organizer of the event. They're not even the owner of the tickets. They're just this software layer in between. There's just no way a fee that high is justifiable. And so that's what kind of spurred on the idea. And then when we realized how supply in the industry works, with that kind of hypothesis was validated. And then the group feature took a little bit longer to develop. But as soon as we had the idea for it, that's when investors started to get excited.
So it's always interesting when I go to look at this, like what possible reason could there be to post inventory without showing the fee if there's a fee? Like, I guess, do you want to look and see I don't understand. I can't avoid the fee. I have to pay the fee. Why am I having an option to have to click on the button? It just seems like a gimmick to try and trick the customer.
I think that it's an outright plague. And I think that it's not just in ticketing that it exists. It's kind of across industries. I think it's something that we're going to see disappear over the next 20 years or so. Probably the worst offender is Airbnb. I remember I had one recently where the price of the room was $99. I had a filter on for like under $100 a night. And then I go to check out and it's $215. It was literally more than double what it costs. And part of the problem with that is that it means your filters are useless, right? Because what am I filtering on? I'm filtering on this portion. And so it's strange because, like you say, it's not an optional fee. right? So who are you fooling here? But the sad part is apparently they're fooling a lot of people. And, the reason why these big companies have stayed with this structure is because it works. And when, you just kind of get people a little bit farther into the checkout process and they're a little bit more invested in making it happen. So, I know that even on Fanimal, we probably would have a slightly higher conversion rate if we added a fee, but I'll just never do it. I think it's wrong. I think that, you're just trying to trick people and we're not trying to do that.
Yeah, I think, for me, what's the total cost of it? I don't care what this, and this. How much does it cost me? Because that's what the cost is. And if there was a fee in there and you don't tell me what that fee is, I'm okay with that. I don't think I know people want transparency, but if you're not comparing it to something else, I don't know what to compare. So I liken that to, I go on eBay and I see the same product for three different prices. They're all relatively the same. Like this person charged $40 for it, but they wanted $10 in shipping, and this person charged $50, but it shipped free, and this one was $45. If I have the ability to choose that, I'm probably going to do the one who has the shipping aligned about what it is, right? Like if I know someone's charging $15 for shipping, I know it's not going to cost them 15. I'm hesitant to buy from them. I'd rather find someone where I think it goes. So I'm a little mixed on whether or not you need to show it. But at the end of the day, the cost of the ticket is the cost of the ticket. That's what the consumer wants to find out. How much is this ticket going to cost me? And why does it cost me that much? And can I get that same thing elsewhere for cheaper? The event world is interesting because all the same inventory is listed on all the same places, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. And it's funny you bring this up because actually just yesterday I found kind of a new level of trickery from Ticketmaster. I was checking out for some 1975 tickets. I love the 1975. And normally what they do is you click on a price, okay, $35 plus fees, and then you get to the checkout screen and they add their fees, right? What happened yesterday was I selected the tickets on the map for $39 plus fees. I clicked press checkout, and then on the checkout page, the 39 plus fees was now 55 plus fees, plus the fees. It actually changed between clicking to add to cart and on the next screen. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. This is a whole new level. Like, what's next? You changed the price after I clicked the submit order button. Oh, actually, it was this much. How far are we going to let it go?
Well, I had someone on who said Ticketmaster is not the bad guy. It's the artists and the management agencies. And there might be some, I find that hard to believe completely, but I also.
What's the argument?
What's that?
What's the argument for that?
Well, he's just saying that Ticketmaster doesn't set the prices on tickets. And the fees largely don't go to them. I don't know. I think, there's a reason why there's all kinds of legal action against Ticketmaster, and for being a monopoly, for the excess fees. It's not worth having the conversation about who's at fault here. But the good thing is there's other options for a lot of events. For some events, it's not. And the secondary market has become other options, but that doesn't help the person who wants to get access to a show when it goes on sale. So you're in a secondary market, so you understand that. What's the future going to be like for fans? I mean, how can a fan who's a fan and not a bot or a broker get access to these tickets? Is there a fair way?
Sure. Well, I think that one thing to keep in mind just as context here is that the whole concept of face value basically doesn't exist anymore. You think about what face value used to mean. It was like the number written on the ticket, right? It's like, okay, here's the ticket. It shows the price right there. If you purchased it at the box office, that was the only thing you're paying. But now that 99.9% of tickets are electronic, there is no physical ticket. And the primary providers, and it's not just Ticketmaster, but AEG, AXS, all of those as well, they're changing they're pricing dynamically what the face value is. And you could have this ticket is $40 on Monday, $60 on Tuesday. It's $30 for this special access pre-sale, and then it's $45 for this on sale. And so, in terms of the fair way for fans to get the tickets that they want, really trying to go, not a broker, I'd say number one, just try to get there first. I mean, even just knowing about when these pre-sales are happening, it is generally public information. It's just a question about who's on the email list, and certainly, sometimes there's so much, bot, broker traffic, whatever you want to call it, that even if you're there with your browser open at 8:57 for that 9 a.m. pre-sale, you can't get anything. But usually you can. Like, usually if you're really on it like that and you've set your calendar and your alarm, you can get the tickets you want. But
I think tickets. So I tried to buy Green Day tickets. I picked the ones I want, and it wouldn't take my credit card, which I've ordered plenty of times. And by the time it kicked me out and the seats I wanted weren't there and nothing good was left. I mean, why can't we go to a lottery type thing where, would that be, do you know what I'm saying? Like, give everyone a number and then you randomly pick a number and you start there and then it goes, these people get the option. I mean, the technology is crazy. They should be able to do something that allows a fan access to it. They don't care is the first point, right? Because their ticket gets sold. They don't care what happens to it afterward. In fact, with the digital stuff, they can track data, right? I mean, so for them, they're partnering with the secondary markets. They're holding inventory. They're giving the secondary market inventory. And that's all, it's okay if it's fair, I think.
Yeah, and I think that, with the concept of fairness, I mean, hey, if you lose a lottery, is that really fair either? I think that at some point, demand can exceed supply, and sometimes demand exceeds supply by a lot. And if everybody has, kind of the same chance to go in and try to buy tickets, and then, okay, there's sort of a, if demand doesn't exceed supply, then anybody can just go buy them, right? And maybe even the face value that they're dynamically pricing is going to drop, and so you can get an even lower price. But if there's more of just a free markets, demand exceeds supply, these secondary markets exist for a reason, and there's sort of a price reset, and anybody can get it there. I think at some point, that aspect of it, I think is okay, just because nobody can ever really know where the demand supply curves are going to meet, right? I mean, you can't get a PlayStation right now, right? Because demand exceeds supply by so much. I don't think that's necessarily means that there's evil involved. It just means that demand exceeded supply. They're trying to keep up with it.
Well, yeah. So the demand for, and our previous guest talked about, well, what can these artists do? Well, they can play a multiple show, but I think the demand is high for these tickets, but maybe not high enough to have 40,000 more people, because
right,
true fans weren't, having access to that. Maybe it was 5,000 fans. I don't. It's an interesting conversation. It's hard. And at the end of the day, it's a privilege to be able to afford to buy entertainment. And there's lots of stuff that we can't afford that we would like to do. And that's okay. The stuff like you talked about, that's in high demand. My wife bought tickets for Lady Gaga. She got in line and got some tickets.
Nice. Hot tickets.
Yeah. Big group of people, but this was purchased right at, direct from it. So for shows like that, there's not an option. Do you think that people might do that? Follow your footsteps in the model you do, which I think is great. I mean, Uber does it, right? There's restaurants that do it. I know there's some other apps that do it, nothing with events. So do you think that might be a model? Because she couldn't have gotten tickets from you, not the tickets she got at the price she got.
Right. Well, and I don't know if she maybe got some sort of luxury box or something like that. Sometimes the markets for those are a little bit different, but we can sell any number of any quantity of tickets on our site. You can buy 4, 8, 12, you name it.
Right, but it's not right from the on sale. It's after someone has it, correct?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Although, sellers, when they know an on sale is going to happen, sometimes, that's something to keep in mind too. Sometimes people already have tickets before they go on sale, right? I mean, there are all kinds of insider deals in this industry, right? Or they know that, okay, maybe they don't technically have them yet, but they shook hands with that guy, at the box office they've been doing business with for 10 years, and they know that they have them. And so they're listed a lot of the times at the same time that stuff is going on sale. And so I think that the biggest thing that I would encourage people to do when it comes to fairness is just look at multiple places, right? And it isn't the case that like whoever the primary provider is, the seller of tickets, Ticketmaster, that's always the place that you check first because hey, they're selling secondary market inventory too, and they're dynamically pricing, and and there are actually times when people will have tickets listed to an event that they haven't put publicly on sale yet, but you can go somewhere else. So the only way to be sure that you're getting the best deal is to check multiple places. Check Ticketmaster and check Fanimal.
How do you protect the consumer that they're buying a real ticket since it's all just relying upon someone who has a legitimate ticket, correct?
Yeah, and the the way that we do that is I think that people have a certain idea that comes to mind when they think of resale tickets, but what a lot of people don't understand is that it's a huge industry, right? And these ticket brokers, a lot of them, sure, there are some kind of small timey folks, but for a lot of the small timey folks, it's their primary living. And for the big ones, there are some companies that, pardon me, have hundreds of employees and do hundreds of millions of annual revenue. And they're really like hedge funds trading in the ticket markets in the same way that hedge funds trade in financial markets. And the thing is, when it's your primary living, when you can't afford to be scamming people, right? Because when these sellers get scammed, they get charged a 250% penalty. And so if you're doing that with any kind of regularity, you're not going to be in business very long.
Yeah.
So there's the fact that anybody doing this for a living, which is the majority of the sellers that you're buying from, can't afford to make mistakes. And then the other part of it is automation tools. There are all kind of automation tools that will automatically transfer electronic tickets. And there's, FedEx tracking numbers that help keep track of things. And so that makes it a lot easier to prevent errors and that sort of stuff. So like on Fanimal, hey, every once in a while something happens. When something happens, it's more often an honest mistake than it was like somebody intentionally trying to con someone. But it's probably like maybe 1 out of every 1,000 orders. I mean, it's extremely rare.
Yeah. Confident, consumers should be confident the same way they are Ticketman. I mean, all of these.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we have a guarantee, of course, as well, that in that 1 in 1,000 chance that something goes wrong, you'll get 100% of your money back. Or we actually usually do over 100% of your money back because we feel so bad about it.
Yeah. Were you in Vegas for the
I was, and Matt, I actually saw you, and I was about to come up and shake your hand, and then somebody else grabbed me. But I was like, wait a second, I know that guy.
Yeah, I was wearing my Ticket Time Machine jersey. I got there for just one, like the reception there. So,
Gotcha.
A lot going on there, right? I mean, for you, that's a good way for you to get introduced. Is there a reason why these people shouldn't all have their inventory on Fanimal?
Well, most of them already do. We get our inventory from the major supply aggregators. And so, and most of the big sellers are using at least one, if not all, of those big supply aggregators. So we already have pretty much 100% of broker inventory through the aggregators. Of course, we're also interested in setting up direct relationships with sellers because you can sort of, both sides can make a little bit more money. But like I said, we already have literally 90% of what you'd find on a StubHub or Vivid, and the only 10% that we're missing is the individual fan sellers. And we'll add individual fan selling at some point. Just haven't yet, partially because it's a small portion of the market, and to your prior point, it's also a more problematic portion of the market, right? Because professional sellers use automation tools and don't make mistakes because that's their primary living, whereas individual fans make mistakes all the time and have no idea what they're doing. And we're also in the phase 2 of being, Mr. Nice Guy when it comes to the consumers, right? Super generous refund policies and all that. When you're taking on individual sellers, you can't be Mr. Nice Guy, right? You have to be like, hey, if this isn't here on time, we're going to charge you 200% of the order. And so we'll do it at some point, but just not yet.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to you can get to any show. But sometimes you got, the price is going to be there. But there's always so many tickets that are on there. I don't see the price move down as low as you get closer and the event's actually starting like an hour before, which with everything digital, you can kind of just stand outside and
Right.
maybe buy a ticket. Are people just going to eat the inventory and they're not monitoring it? I know it's pretty easy to monitor it, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think that the super last minute is always chaotic. Sometimes that's when the sellers make their highest profit margins of like, oh man, this is the only ticket left to this show. Okay, I guess I'm going to pay $200 for it. I'm already here when originally was sold for $100. And other times tickets go unsold. Right? It's not perfect, but I think that at some point too, when the price gets low enough, it's like, oh man, is this even worth it? Like, let's say a seller, their cost basis was $100 for a ticket. Are they really going to make sure that they're listing them for $5 an hour before, or are they just kind of leaving them up there, hoping somebody's going to pay $50, even if they don't know they can? And maybe one more thing that I'd add is that the majority of the inventory we're buying on the secondary market is coming from large institutional sellers, and so for a given game, they might have hundreds of tickets, and so even if one or two of them end up going unsold, it's still a sustainable business model for them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You win some, you lose some. Buying season tickets because you could sell one game for a lot and the others are losers, but you're still going to try and hope
Yep.
that you hope that somebody wants to take a look at it. How did you get into doing this? I mean, what were you doing before? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. No. And I guess I scrimped on the personal side of my introduction. I grew up in Bay Area, Menlo Park, California. Then I went to UCLA and studied economics and philosophy. And then after undergrad, I did 3 years in consulting at the Boston Consulting Group. And in my third year, I got promoted to the post MBA level and figured at that point that business school made a little bit less sense for me because I'd go and come back to the same job. So I took a big curveball and went and did a master's in philosophy at Columbia University. And I love philosophy, always have, and could very much see myself returning to it later in life. But I had a feeling that it wasn't the end game for me, at least not right there, because there's, it's tough times financially, kind of going from where I was to a tenured professor. And so I was looking to start something new, right? I kind of done the academic thing and I'd done the white shoe corporate thing. I'd always wanted to start my own company, and the live events industry came top of mind because I was a huge live events goer. So I was at Outside Lands Music Festival this past weekend for my 13th consecutive year.
Oh,
I
wow.
go to Coachella every year. I go to lots of sporting events. Once upon a time, I was an athlete. Once upon a different time, I was playing music in bars and stuff. I just love all of this. Love music, love sports. And I felt like it was an industry that was, sort of vulnerable to attack. As I mentioned, I think there are some major problems in the industry, and I think that, unlike a lot of other industries, there kind of isn't one provider that everybody looks at and goes, oh yeah, I mean, okay, those guys are pretty good, right? Like for instance, Airbnb for hotels or Toyota for cars or something. Nobody likes any of the major ticket players, right? And I figured, hey, what if we started a brand that solved some of these problems and was user friendly? Maybe it could be successful. And then so it was a pet project while I was in grad school. I was kind of throwing a bunch of these different dreams at the wall. And then in the summer of 2019, we got into the Pair VC incubator program, and Pair is well known for Dropbox and DoorDash, and got a little bit of money in the door. And once we got a little money in the door, we were just sort of off to the races from there. And then we had spectacularly good timing on our launch in January of 2020. So we got like 6 weeks of traction pre-COVID. And then COVID hits, and, on the one hand, bummer to have to stop the growth. But on the other hand, at that point, we were still just a couple dudes in a garage with no overhead. Meanwhile, our competitors got shellacked by COVID. StubHub had to lay off 80% of their employees. The other big guys did similarly. So we could afford to kind of put our heads down, work on our product and our patent and the supply side of the industry, sort of make ourselves better while everybody else was getting worse. And
I want to talk about that for a second because that's exactly what happened to me. I went all in as it happened, and it was such a great time, and I hate to use it because so much destruction went on, but it was such a great time. I didn't have to compete for deals. There were no events going on. You can work on your product, on your brand, and have conversations with people you never would have had conversations with. So it's really funny how timing, works that way, because if it wasn't that way, you're competing. It's hard to compete. It just really is hard to compete against. You're talking about some big competitors that you're jumping into the market with, and you don't just dive in necessarily for all of what they're doing, but the nature of what you're doing is fine to sort of go after the stuff that they're going to. So
Yeah, no, it was interesting timing, and I mean, I think that from our perspective, if it had happened, COVID. I mean, if it had happened 3 months earlier, we would have been dead in the water. We never would have gotten off the ground. But we were lucky in that we were like just off the ground enough that we could keep working on it. And Matt, I'll be honest with you, there were some dark days in there, right? And I know that there were some good things that came out of it, but I think just not knowing when it was going to end, right? And the news got better, and then it got worse, then it got better, and then it got worse. And for me, of course, it was tough from a professional perspective, but also from a personal perspective. I mean, I'm a huge live events goer. I couldn't do any of this stuff.
yeah, I start to think about the events that I lost from COVID are enough for people's lifetime of events that they get to go to, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Sounding like
Yeah, no, and absolutely. And then coming out of it, I went to a whole bunch of events, and I feel like that phase maybe still hasn't quite ended, but hopefully it never will for me.
it's the music side. I feel is bigger for these type of transactions. Is that do you have a sense of where your ticket sales lie, music versus sports?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty even split at this point. We started focused on music, and the reason for that was currently our group feature is only enabled for general admission ticket types. And the reason for that is, hey, if all the tickets are the same, then it's much easier for us to, make a promise to somebody starting a group for 4 people that, hey, we're actually going to have these to fill later on. And there are more general admission ticket types in music, right? So like all the music festivals are GA, and a lot of the big concerts are GA, or even like arena shows. A lot of the time they'll have a GA section within the larger arena. So we started there. But this year that's changed a little bit. We've actually been selling a lot of MLB tickets, and on that point, and for events with assigned seating, we don't yet have our group feature enabled. We are hard at work on it, and we plan to have it in a couple months. It's more complicated, as you can imagine, because you have to have the seats that are together. But we have a solution for it, and we're going to have it soon. But for the time being, the reason to still buy MLB tickets from us or NFL tickets from us is that it's the same thing for cheaper, and the service is excellent. And so we've been doing a lot of sports recently too, and I cannot wait until we have the group feature enabled for those as well.
Now, so I guess explain the group feature, because isn't it you find these seats and then it gets split up or not?
Sure. So for the time being, GA only, and the way it works is you first set a minimum size. So let's say that my minimum size is 4 people. And then I'm going to authorize my credit card for the number of tickets that I want. Let's say that's 1 or 2, without committing to pay yet. And then I send the link out to my friends. And only when that specified minimum number of tickets is hit, let's say 4, everybody gets charged the same time, the same price, and receives their tickets individually. If that minimum is never met, then nobody gets charged. So it's kind of a don't commit until your friends do model. And with the GA group, once you have this active group in place, it can keep growing, and you can keep inviting friends to it. And our biggest group ever was 58 people, a bunch of college kids in Colorado. And we have a messaging product in the group feature as well, which we think is really cool. So, hey, what are you guys going to do before? What are you guys going to do afterward? Or sometimes you end up at an event and you actually don't have the phone number of everybody that you're going with. Oh, that guy's girlfriend I never met before, and so now they're in the group too. And so we're trying to kind of build on that experience. With an event with assigned seating rather than GA, when this first person starts a group for 4 tickets, not only do we have to promise them 4 of these tickets that are all the same, we have to make sure we
Right.
can promise them 4 seats that are in that section that are right next to each other, and so it's more complicated. But like I said, we think that we have a solution for it, and we're excited to bring it to market in a couple months.
Yeah, I get that. It's all, I think, for most of these events, there's not a whole lot of urgency outside of a week after they've been on sale, right?
Yeah, yes. And as far as the urgency goes, in general, there's really high demand right when something goes on sale, and then there's really high demand like the week leading up to the show. But in between, things tend to stay a little bit flat. And I think it's also just important to keep in mind what type of event we're talking about. Because there are plenty of so they're not the ones that we think about as much, like an NFL or Lady Gaga. Yeah, of course, those things are going to fly off the shelves. But there are lots of events where it's not like that. You can kind of get the tickets you want anytime throughout. And so for our group planning feature as well, we typically only allow when there's a little bit more time to the event. There's 3 days or there's a week or something like that. It's less of like a last minute planning tool. But part of that's because in general, the bigger the group you're planning, kind of generally the more far and ahead that is, right? Typically, you're not trying to organize 8 people to go to a baseball game on 2 p.m. the day of the game.
Yeah. It's the digital side has become so easy to be like, hey, let's just go and get it. I don't need it. I'm right there. I can go. If I get a ticket, great. If I'm not, I leave. I mean, I'd be curious to see how many people are doing. I've done it before, but I generally you'll find something, or it's an event you really want to go to, and you're gonna pay to get in anyway. But if I can get a better seat, if I can get a cheaper seat, then that's good for me. I'd like to do that. It's what's coming next. Obviously, some of the stuff you're doing in the sharing. Was there a lot of new ideas at this conference that you were at? I mean, I go to a lot of these conferences. There's a lot of the same old, same old. What's new? Is there a change? Obviously, you guys are bringing something to the table that's new, which is good, and I think new is needed.
Yeah, it's a great question. And that's of course my first answer is that we have a mobile application that we launched a couple months ago. That's new, and pretty soon we're going to have a group feature for events with assigned seating, which is really something the world has never seen before. And our mobile application has a messaging product. And we're the first ever ticketing platform that has a messaging product, sends you push notification and everything. As far as industry wide, one thing that's happened recently was the stuff going on in New York around ticketing fees and having all-in prices. I believe that they've passed it now. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, they passed it, right? That you actually can't add fees to the tickets. It has to be an all-in price. And I was actually at a different conference, the NIVA conference, National Independent Venue Association, and that was talked about quite a bit, right? Because of course everybody has done the same fee model forever, and maybe now that's being threatened. I'm really curious to see if that spreads beyond New York and just becomes.
The fees are in there. You're just not calling it, separating it for fees, right?
Yeah, it's an all-in price, but it is more transparent, right? If that's closer to what Fanimal does for all tickets, which is just, hey, the price you see is the price you pay. We're not trying to fool you.
Yeah, and then it's just a matter of, hey, why is this thing the same? Like certain, that's what I go and look on these sites. I go to a bunch of secondary markets the same way I go to look at Target and Walmart and say, hey, this is the same television. There's no reason why one should be more expensive than the other. It's the same exact seat. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to buy whoever has the cheapest seat, short of you not trusting the vehicle who's going to give you it.
Sure.
Right? If you go to a StubHub, you go to a SeatGeek, Vivid, Fanimal, TickPick, whoever, they're all trustworthy where they're going to make it right for you. I had one that my thing wouldn't scan, and then eventually they just like, here, take this one. It was a floor seat, a general admission floor, which was awesome.
Yeah.
The other downside is, hey, we'll give you your money back, but if I'm at the thing and you give me my money back, what good does that do me?
Yeah, that's tough. Then sometimes there's a problem, but it's fixable, right? You can still get a replacement ticket. Sometimes it's not, and those are the really tough situations when you have a denied entry and somebody's already at the venue. There's nothing they can do. In that case, like we would typically give like a 200% refund if something like that happened.
Yeah, it's a tough business, the ticket business, but it's a good business. As you see, all these people they're making a living just buying tickets and reselling them. Obviously, there's demand there. It's not gonna it's not gonna go down.
And I'll throw the same question back at you about what change do you think is coming in the industry?
Yeah, I think people. I think they're partnering more, with the secondary market. I hope that makes things better, and not just everyone's figuring out what's good for me and not for the fan. I think in a lot of ways they don't care about the fan the way that they should. That's my opinion. The teams, the leagues, the ticket masters of the world, like we sell this and we're fine. It's sold, and now we've washed our hands of it. Trying to figure out a way to people to sell more tickets, and we have conversation. People have this conversation like, what can you do to sell more tickets? Because the money is actually inside the event, the
Right.
food, the beverage, the parking, the merchandise. Like the ticket at some point is like it's a throwaway almost.
Yeah, no, and that's a really interesting point, and I think that dynamic is very important in this industry, which is that, as compared to something like a PlayStation selling out, right? There are more factors in play around what the price of the ticket should be, and I remember you bringing up like what the artists and agents and promoters want. Having their artists sell out a show is a good thing, right? And you might have a case where like, hey, if you'd set the price at $50 a ticket, it wouldn't have sold out, but you would have made $5,000 more versus if you set the price at $40 a ticket, you're going to make less, but the show's going to sell out. I don't know what the answer is, but I would imagine that a lot of artists and promoters would actually rather have the show sell out, and I think that's often true of the venues, leagues, teams as well. That it was we sold out another game, right? That's going to increase demand for the future. It's good for marketing,
Yeah.
right? There's that aspect, and there's the butts and seats aspect, right? When they pan to the crowd, they want to see the people are actually in the seats, and my goodness, they want people buying beers and hot dogs and parking because it's just so expensive these days. You go get a beer and a burger, it's $60.
Oh, it's nuts. Did you watch the Woodstock on Netflix? Have you watched that yet?
I haven't yet. Somebody else sent it to me. Have you seen it?
Yeah, we watched it the other night. It's called Trainwreck, and it's an appropriate title. But they were complaining about the price. I was just laughing at them complaining about the prices, back 20 whatever 30 years ago, and I'm like, wait, look what the prices are now. It's outrageous. But one thing that really bothers me is the price of water. And I said this to my friend yesterday on the show. Like water should be $2 a pop. I don't care. It's $2, and that's the only thing you can charge it. And let me drink water all day long if that's what I want. You're still making $1.75, $1.80 on every bottle, which is pretty good markup. I'm not a mathematician, but it's pretty good markup.
Yeah.
Certain things are like, let's just cap what it is. But another interesting idea I have is you pay X amount to get into an event, and with that, and they do some of this like credit, but like you have credit to buy merchandise and food. And if you don't want to do that, which most people will if you're saying it's included, like that's what your cost is. So if I paid $100, maybe I have $20 at the merch and $20 at the food, and so you're going to get $100 no matter what, and people might buy more. I don't know, some model around the credit where it's like encouraging them. You're almost prepaying for merchandise and food, but you feel better about it because, hey, I went to this event. I spent $100, but I had a bunch of drinks and got a shirt or a poster.
Yeah, I think that is an interesting idea because I think for me in particular, it's just such a big if I'm going to a show, I'm probably going to be drinking, right? I might be eating too if it's something I'm going to be there longer for. And so if I know like I'm going to go to a show and I know for sure I'm going to have at least 2 drinks. if there's a way I could have that added to the price of my ticket going in and I save 20% on those drinks or something, I'd be all for it. My guess as to why that kind of thing is less common is because of how the economics are shared, right? Like I think that when you're talking about a ticket being sold, you have the artist and you have the agent or promoter, and then you have the ticketing company, and then once you're in the thing, I mean, I don't know. Is Ticketmaster taking a cut of those chicken tenders? I'm not sure. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But I know that for a lot of smaller venues too, like stuff that's 200 capacity kind of bars and stuff like that, doing shows for $10 tickets. A lot of the times they'll be happy to sell those tickets for $5, $10, or heck, even just an RSVP, because they know that when you're coming in there, you're going to be buying drinks. That's
the improv, right? 2 free tickets. 2 drink minimum.
Right. Yeah, the drink minimum.
That's enough for them, and they get some pretty big acts there, and they're still in business. And they're still bringing in pretty big acts, so something's working for there. I'm an outdoor guy for music, and or a very, very small type of venue. What's your favorite type of event to go to?
I'm an outdoor guy too. I'm a festival guy at heart. Coachella and Outside Lands are the ones that I love the most. I love being there for multiple days. You really get to immerse yourself, and I love that it is outside, and a lot of being there is just being there rather than kind of just there to see a particular artist. I also find that because earlier in the day there'll be a lot of artists I haven't heard of, I learned about new music. But I want to come back to the point that you made about water, because I think that it's a really important one. And this past year at Outside Lands was awful. So first year ever. Previously, I used to be allowed to bring in a Camelback, which is awesome. I can have as much water as I want, easy to refill. And then a couple years ago, they changed the bag policy, I guess for security reasons. They said that you can't bring in a certain size backpack anymore. You can only have a clear plastic bag, but hey, sorry, I don't have one of those, and I don't want one because it's so lame. But you could do that, or you could have a drawstring bag, like basically a bag with one hole that's really easy to look into. And so what I used to do is take my Camelback bladder, put it in the drawstring bag, and okay, that still works pretty well. This year, clear bags only. You can't even have a drawstring bag. And so now I'm like, dude, how do I drink water? I'm just going to go in with just a fanny pack. There's nowhere to put it unless I go and separately buy this, $50 clear bag that I'm only using for this purpose. And then when you were there, the water was $5 to buy a reusable bottle. And yes, okay, they do give you a reusable bottle. But then when you want to go fill it up, it's a 25-minute line to get to the front of it. And then when you're waiting to fill it up, it's coming out like a drizzle, like a faucet.
It's warm.
So all of a sudden, it's $5.30 to get 8 ounces of water. It's terrible, and I think that it's ironic that where it all started from was a security concern, safety about the size of these bags. But you make it hard for people to drink water when they're drinking and doing who knows what else at a music festival. That's way more unsafe,
Yeah. I mean, just make it affordable. $2, $3 tops. People would be buying. I'd be buying water all day long at $2.
Yep.
And be drinking it. But I don't, because I'm not going to buy a $6 bottle of water. And, I'll drink a beer. It's not a good deal, but I don't know. The safety of it too. It's hot at these places here in California, in Florida. I go to these outdoor festivals, and you're right. People need to, let's protect them. Let's just do it because it makes sense. Like, let's not get so greedy to make $6 on a bottle of water. But yeah. When we run our own festival, that's when we got a lot of rules. It's going to be very fan friendly, but not too.
I'm all about it. I can't say too much, but we're working with the festival later this year. Actually,
you're going to be working with a festival.
Yeah, we're going to be the official provider, and it's not. We haven't gone public with it yet, and so I can't give much details.
But it's
existing water. Rest assured.
Existing festival.
Sorry?
It's an existing one. It's not a new one.
I can't go into detail, Matt, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Check out Fanimal Official on Instagram for the for the announcement. What's your favorite music?
I have pretty broad music taste, man. I think that my main happy place is kind of like, alternative rock, Like I'd say two example artists. Glass Animals would be one of my favorite artists. I also love the Beatles, older stuff. But I can get into the electronic stuff too, not like the super, whoobity 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 kind of electronic, but something more, like an Odessa or a Big Wild. Love that. I listen to classical music. I like a lot of stuff, man. What about
Yeah.
you?
I have such a wide range. Same. I don't like the hardcore metal. I don't really like electronic music. I like. It's weird because I'm a beat guy. So when I listen to music, I'm listening for the beat and the tune, not necessarily the words. But I don't like. I do need to have the words there. So it's. But I
Yeah,
like
I hear you.
country is a big. I'm huge on country now, and I didn't even listen to country until Tortuga Music Festival came on the beach. It was $99 for 2 days. Sister Hazel and Michael Fronte were playing. I'm like, they're not even country, but I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm in. You give me $99 for 2 days on the beach. I'll go. It doesn't even matter. I don't. You don't have to tell me what the lineup is. I'm in.
Yeah, that's real cheap for 2 days too. Wow.
Well, that's what it started at the first.
Yeah,
Now
sure.
there's 3 days and it's like 300 something. I don't know, 4. Who knows? It's expensive. But if you think about it, you get a lot. If the lineups are good, you're getting a ton of live music. And I don't like having to guess who I want to go to. Like, it's good to have a lot of great, but then I have conflicts and I got to walk from one to the other and I miss. And now I tend to look at the setlist.com to be like, hey, when are they going to play this song? Because that's really what I want to hear. How do you navigate, between acts that you want to see?
Setlist.com is a place you can go and see what songs the artists are going to play.
Oh, you don't know about setlist.com?
No, wait. I mean, like, and does it work every time, or I mean,
They're very, very accurate about it because these bands are
wow,
playing the same set list over. Very few bands change their set list unless they play multiple nights. Maybe like a Fish. Fish changes. Dave Matthews changes a little bit.
hmm.
But yeah, but there's a bad thing about that. I don't necessarily always want to know, but sometimes you want to know, hey, because I'm staying for the whole thing if I'm just seeing a band. So I don't really want to know what's playing.
Right.
But at a festival, I will use that. I will go to setlist.com or
Interesting.
setlist.fm.
Yeah,
It's like a Wikipedia itself. I mean, the fans are doing it. The fans are putting it in there. Someone's putting it in there, and it's incredible.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to festival strategy for me, I think that which songs within a set might not be the top of my priority list. I mean, I always find, okay, there are a million artists that I want to see. And one way to optimize is going to see optimizing my music preferences exactly. But then there's also like, well, all right, I'm gonna need to use the restroom several times, and I'm gonna need to go get beer several times, and I'm going to be with friends who are also going to have their own music preferences and are going to have to go to the bathroom and get beer themselves. And I may want to be trying to meet up with other friend groups, which of course takes time too. And so out of all of those considerations, what I typically do is at a given day of a festival, I have one, maybe two artists where it's like, all right, I know I'm going to be at those shows. And I know that, hey, we might split up and stuff, but like I'm going to be with my fiance the whole time. And beyond that, I'm easygoing because I think that it's so hard to like overplan and get, and be disappointed if you had this perfect itinerary lined up. But I think, there's a Sun Tzu quote that comes to mind. No battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. And I think that's very true of like an Outside Lands or Coachella. And so have a couple of priorities and then try to go with the flow as much as I can.
Have you camped out or you just show up every day?
I have, yeah. So at Coachella, I've camped many times. This past year was actually the first time that I didn't camp. Got an Airbnb close by with a pool and it was great. Oh my gosh, it was definitely a lot better than camping. But it was, when it comes to the group coordination, it's hard to do that with accommodations as well, and I ended up having 12 people in my Airbnb and we like split it evenly and ended up being perfect. But a month out, I only had 4 and I had to put my whole card down to reserve the spot. And I was like, oh man, should I cancel this? Like it was a little dicey. But the Coachella camping is a great experience too. I mean, you're truly immersed. You're also immersed in the desert dirt and the heat, but you're immersed in the fun as well.
It's on my bucket list to camp out at a festival. and also to travel. I've never really traveled far for a festival. What's on your bucket list for a festival that you haven't been to that you like to try?
Yeah. Well, I really want to get myself to Nashville. Never been to the city of Nashville, and so
All
I'd
right.
want to go to Bonnaroo if there's a good lineup. I'd want to do and Austin City Limits I haven't done yet, and I might be going to that later this year. I think the lineup's pretty awesome. Really, I think I've pretty much only ever been to outside lands at Coachella. I've gone every year, but I should switch it up a little bit on the festivals.
And Nashville is one of my favorite cities in all of the U.S. And so I was there. We traveled for Kenny Chesney. My wife and I bought tickets for Kenny Chesney years ago, and then COVID hit, and they kept rescheduling. They they rescheduled for Memorial Weekend this year, but meanwhile, Dave Matthews, who had to cancel for some reason, put their concert Memorial Weekend, which they never do. It's always right
Mhm.
around now, and
Yeah,
or the end of July, end of July, beginning of August, and we were away. So I was like, damn, I'm going to miss Dave Matthews, which is my favorite tailgate of the year. I don't even go for the music anymore. It's just we get there at 1, and it's just the best day of just hanging out with the fans. And he got COVID, so we got lucky that he had to postpone it, and now the show is in 2 weeks. So I'm going to get to go and see it. Uh,
nice.
yeah, I've heard very good things about Firefly, the festival. I'd love to go there up in Delaware. I think it's got to be the lineup for me. It's just gonna be the lineup that compels me. There was a lineup that had Linkin Park, Blink 182, and Green Day in like Europe, and I was like, should I go to this thing? I'm like, I think it ended up not happening, or I don't know. This was before Chester, but yeah, I think the lineup for me is going to be. I need to have at least, like you say, one or two acts every day that I'm really excited about. There's
Yeah,
always going to be good music, but it's got to be a reason for me to want to go. If I'm traveling outside of just say I got to drive an hour, okay, I'll go.
sure. Yeah, and I'd be really interested in experiencing an international festival. That'd be cool to see how they do
I'm
it.
in. Let's find one because I'm in for it. They have such great festivals over there. If you're doing a festival and you said some of the bands you like, who's your headliner? You got three days of headlining. Who are the headliners?
Man, putting me on the spot.
And it could be anyone. It could be anyone.
Yeah, I'd say Glass Animals has got to be one of them. Uh, Odessa would be another, and Taylor Swift. I'm a sucker for Taylor Swift, and she
That's me.
hasn't toured in
Yeah.
what 4 years. What is happening, Taylor? We're ready
I,
for it. Oh my
I like
goodness.
her. I like her music. I like a lot of it. A lot of it I don't like, but I like a lot of it. That's it's hard to it's interesting. I listen to so much music, and but ultimately, if you ask me like who are my favorites, they're all men, and there's a whole big movement about women not getting enough. They're all in my phone. I could show you. It's probably 50-50. But
Yeah,
when I start to ask who am I going to go see and who you want, it goes to the men. So like, who are your favorite? Who are the best? I'm going to see Gaga, and I'd put her up there with anyone, and
nice.
Madonna, and even Taylor, Pink. These are some of the people I think are the great. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think that a lot of it's just like the lizard brain initial reaction to stuff. Maybe there's something subconscious in men that doesn't want to say that they think it's effeminate or something to say that their favorite artist is a woman. But I'll say it. I want to see Taylor Swift more than anybody else. I don't know why
I
it's taking so long to go on tour. What is it happening, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm gonna see Gaga. Taylor's at the top of my list. Ed Sheeran is another one who I've never seen who I'd like to. I mean, these are all people that are anyone who's not hard to get. I've basically seen if I want. I've never seen Avril Lavigne. I'd like to see her. I'm a
Avril?
big
Yeah, sure.
Avril Lavigne fan. But it's man, I feel so lucky to be able to just see all these events, music and sports. We didn't even get to talk about sports. Who are your teams in sports?
Golden State Warriors, San Francisco 49ers, and UCLA Bruins.
And how do you feel about the move? What's going on with college?
Man, yeah, God, I forgot about that. I think it's crazy, man. I think it's crazy. I think that, I'm glad that I'm not one of the Pac-12 teams that didn't move, right?
Yeah.
Because the Pac-12 is just going to be this terrible conference. Now I'm glad that like at least we're going to be in a good league. But I think it's very strange, man. And having like all these huge distances between schools, it means it's harder for fans to travel to the games. Like I remember when I was in college, we'd take a bus to Arizona for the Arizona game, and you can't do that if we're going across the country.
No.
So I don't know, man, but
They
hey,
have trouble selling college events. I know Texas just announced that they have a high thing. They got Alabama coming in, I think, and
oh really?
or there's a reason for it. So, Fanimal, I think, could be a great market for college sports. Getting people to get rid of tickets that they can't go to. Low cost, no fees. How do you get your name out there? So that's the only thing. I go to look for a ticket. I know about you now, but I
Yep.
go to SeatGeek, I go to StubHub, I go to TickPick. All of them. How do you get your name out so people know that they should start to look at Fanimal as they're looking for a ticket?
Sure, man. We're trying to do everything we can. Coming on stuff like this really helps. Any kind of press we can get. We got a nice write up in Forbes a couple months ago, and I went on Eric Fuller's podcast. We're advertising on Google, and we advertise on Facebook and Instagram. We have a college campus ambassador program, and we're doing some advertising on other podcasts as well. Really everything we can. But I think what's important to know is that because we kind of got going just before COVID started, we've basically only been in the market for 18 months. And we already have like tens of thousands of users. We are growing really fast. If only I had $1 million a day to spend on Google ads.
So is that it? I mean, is it just the money to spend on ads? Is that what's stopping you from becoming as big as these others? Is it just the money to spend on ads?
I think it's just a matter of time, Matt. Let's talk in 5 years and see where we are. But at that point, and then the more people hear of you, the easier it is for people. Oh yeah, I've heard you. Yeah, you mentioned that before, and then it just gets easier and easier as you get that market penetration. And so we're kind of over that initial hump of traction, but just takes time. There are 350 million people in this country, and they should all be using Fanimal.
I agree. Why Fanimal? What is Fanimal?
Fanimal is a ticket marketplace. It doesn't charge any hidden fees and has group purchase.
Oh, I know. That's good. That's a good, concise answer. Why is it called Fanimal?
Oh, why is it called Fanimal? Yeah, it's a variety of reasons. I think one, we wanted to name the company unlike all of our competitors that have the word ticket in the name. TickPick, SeatGeek, StubHub, Vivid Seats, right? Ticketmaster. We wanted to have a name that was broader than that, right? Because for us, it's about the experience, and we could, maybe move into different aspects of the market in addition to just ticketing. But at the same time, Fanimal has the word fan in it. And I'm a huge fan, animal lover in general. Thought it was cool, thought it was catchy. So
Yeah, I like it. What's with the picture behind you? What is that?
those are flamingos. So the flamingo is our logo.
All right. And we're a memorabilia guy. I always ask this question of someone who's in the event world. House on fire. What are you taking out with you that's not like a human being or a pet?
Oh man, that Martin ukulele behind me for sure.
And what is that?
That's a Martin ukulele. That or this painting of an octopus I got right there.
What's so special about the ukulele?
Well, it's just a really well made instrument. The brand Martin is well known for making guitars. They make ukuleles too, and this thing ages like fine wine. The wood kind of changes over time, and it gives it this cool sound. So that's what I take with me.
I like it. You don't hear a lot of ukulele, but my friend JD Eicher plays some ukulele. He does once a month for his Patreon. He plays and he starts fiddling around with the ukulele, which is it's a pretty neat instrument if you can play it. Kind of,
Yeah.
I don't hear a lot of it. We're going to let you out of the Wolff Den with the same question everyone goes with. You can spend a day with anyone in the world. They have to be alive, and you can't be related to them. Who would you hang out with, and what would you guys do?
Taylor Swift, and we would make sweet, sweet music.
Would you like to sing a duet, or you'd play an instrument?
Yeah, I mean, I've covered a couple Taylor songs. You know, she could sing, I could sing. We could work all that out on the fly.
I do karaoke. I sing Britney. What if you do
Wow,
karaoke? What do you
I
sing?
would love to hear you sing Britney Spears.
We can do it. We'll do it
And
at the. We'll do it in Europe at a music festival. What's a
sounds great.
karaoke for you if you're going to sing karaoke?
Um, Man, what would I go with today? I've been working on Sunday Morning by Maroon 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good choice. Well, we're looking forward to hearing all the news that you couldn't talk about today. So check out Fanimal Official on Instagram or go to fanimal.com. If you're looking to buy an event ticket, go to Fanimal. They have what you're looking for with no fees and a better same as everyone else, but no fees. So it's you don't always want to sell on price, but sometimes you got to sell on price. You'd be like, hey, it's the same ticket as anything else. Why not give them a look and see what they got, especially if you have a group of friends and you anticipate the group coming in this year, or is it a
Yeah, we have group purchase for general admission
right?
events already, and we'll have it for events with assigned seating within the next couple months.
Okay, so probably before the end of the year, we're not going to hold you to anything. Roadmaps change, but appreciate your time and look forward to buying some tickets on Fanimal and we're going to hit a music festival somewhere in the world.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. Have a good one.
You too.